Everyone, welcome to IT Live. It's brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Texas Homer. That's Paul Wadlington. And we're going to talk about American football and specifically the college football variety. We're going to talk playoff odds, kind of hypothetically, where would Texas actually be if they were in this rankings? And then, of course, a big question is going to be all the portal stuff, what we think should happen, what will likely happen, what might not happen, all that good stuff. We're happy to see you guys on this Tuesday morning. I want you to join Inside Texas. And I want you to do it for just $1. Come join, guys. It's an awesome board. It's an active board. Tons of posts, tons of comments, legitimate community members that have been around forever. You can try to get up to be a Heisman on there if your post commenting ability gets to that rank. So we got it gamified over there for you too, and you can read all of Paul's awesome stuff. Good morning, everybody, and good morning to Paul.
You want to talk American football?
Yeah.
I came prepared to talk about Tottenham Hotspur. So,
well,
joke is on me.
Yeah. You got.
I'm gonna start Googling real quick. So just hang on.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of stuff going on the pitch.
Playoff.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Notre Dame didn't make it.
Oh no, they didn't.
Oh well, they'll redeem themselves in their bowl game.
Do you want to talk playoffs first, or do you want to talk portal fun?
We can talk about the portal. How about that?
Let's do it.
Why talk about the event we're not in?
Yeah, it's just it's going to be some premium cope to be like, yeah, we would have beat some of these teams, which we did. Some of these teams. It is funny. They were like, Texas, you guys can't make the playoffs. We're not sure if you guys can compete. And it's like, we literally have competed.
We played like most of the teams in the playoff already.
Yeah, we know exactly where we stand with like half of the playoffs. All right, portal talk. We had Baxter leave, Trey Owens leave, defensive tackle Melvin Hills leave. I think Aaron Butler this morning, wide receiver. Yep. And then I might be missing somebody. And then we did a whole show for an hour yesterday with Eric where we kind of broke down the positions and who we thought was going to leave and all that kind of stuff. But it's coming out quickly. Are there any of those guys that left you want to discuss? Maybe a CJ Baxter?
Well, I wish him the best. He obviously caught some really bad breaks, but he's going to have to do his career resuscitation somewhere else. And this was the right move. And it's a good indicator that Sark is not going to be overwhelmed with sentimentality. And
yeah, that was a good, because that was his favorite player, man. And so for him to have that exit meeting showed me that was kind of the first test of like, are you willing to do the hard stuff?
Hunter Bradford in the chat says Santana Wilson just indicated he's entering the portal.
Interesting. Indicated like put a post that said I'm going into the portal, or like did a subtweet.
I don't know. Hunter might be making it up.
Hunter just makes them up all. Hunter's on the portal, dude. That's his whole thing. He loves it.
That's his thing. He's all about the portal.
No, but yeah, the Baxter thing is.
Oh, Joe Cook just reported it. That's where Hunter got it. So he just wrote it on the board. We should probably read our own board, but Joe put it up 2 minutes ago.
I was going to say he did it while we're live, so therefore
we are absolved.
Santana Wilson was a corner I was excited about, and when we got him,
yeah.
Well,
that room is crowded. And look, we're going to have a very active offseason. So people are talking about all the people we need to go get in the portal. Well, correspondingly, there's a lot of people we got to lose in the portal to allow the getting. You got to have some losing so you can get some getting.
Yeah.
And so, prepare yourself. There's a lot of guys that are going to leave. Some of them were highly rated. Some of them might even been like a personal pet project of ours. Like, this guy in 2 years. And, we've got to remake portions of this football team in a pretty significant way. And there's a cost, there's an ebb and a flow, right? So there's a little bit of a revolving door, and it's going to run both ways. So.
And with, I know that Eric said yesterday that they expect Ricky Stewart and then Clark and Simon are like not 100% returning. So I think they want to keep them, but they don't know there. And then of course Baxter's gone. So, and then you're bringing in Cooper, the young guy. So somebody was like, man, our RB room is getting thin. It's like, yeah, yes, no, it's like, yes, it is getting thin for a good reason.
Yeah. The key is don't say that in a negative tone.
Exactly. It's like,
hey, our running back room is getting thin.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's where, of course, we want to get more guys, and we'll see. I don't know any. I know names that I like, but I don't know any actual names yet.
I'm going to aggressively reassert. I don't want just one running back. I want two.
I agree.
I think the way things shake out, we're gonna need to I think, people are going to hate this, especially the recruiting rankings guys, but I think it's debatable whether we should have taken Derek Cooper and maybe reportion that money to more proven running back assets, but we'll see.
There's a couple of positions now where I'm like, I don't care about recruiting at all. Like I want to go like almost 100% portal. Cooper has some really great upside and all of that stuff, but it's just, is he going to be active next year? If he is, great. And I like Cooper, so I don't want him to show up and immediately think we hate him. But it's just with running back, man, it's like, dude, I would take 4 portal guys right now before even looking at recruiting. But that's also, I get it. You need a long-term solve, right? And you need somebody that can hopefully pop up later, but we got to see.
Yeah, I want some dudes. I'm not trying to get depth in the running back room.
Correct.
Like that's what people are like, yeah, we need depth for Trey Wisner. It's like, no. We need Trey Wisner to go to third down. We need Trey Wisner to have 6 to 8 touches a game, 6 to 10, right? We need Trey Wisner playing some special teams. We don't need him as 1A, right? We've got to go get a lead back and then go get a G5 guy. You'd be surprised at the quality of guy you can get for $75,000.
Well, and here's the reality. Like at the level of Texas with the money, I'll just give you Trey Wisner's stats this year, and they were comparable last year. So before we say it was the offensive line, Trey is at 4.7 yards per attempt. That's 167th in FBS. Yards after contact for attempt, he's 142nd. And then breakaway percentage, like your long run ability, he's 191st in FBS. This is not good enough. Like, especially the weird part at the University of Texas, we know what good backs look like. We know the importance of them. And so it's like, look, guys, like just the numbers are the numbers. I mean, it's not even saying we're below average for SEC. It's like we're far below average for all of FBS in these running backs. And it's been like that for 2 years. It's not just the offensive line thing. Like that's not good enough here whenever you have resources, regardless of leadership, regardless how likable you are, all of that stuff. We need real backs, especially if the offensive line can't run block, then we definitely need elite
all
backs.
The more reason.
Yeah.
You can get by with a system guy if your offensive line's dominant and you've got big threats outside, right?
Yeah. So that's with the running back room, just not playing around, man. Like, The
one thing I will say is let's not blame the current running back coaches for past sins.
Yeah, I'm not mad at Scott here. Like, I need to see much more information. He was kind of handed a raw deal and with an offensive line that wasn't blocking well.
Is Tashard Choice a guy, probably the best example of a guy with an outsized reputation amongst the common fan?
Well, they're turning on him now after this like recruiting.
Well, now, but a year ago, 2 years ago.
Well, it's for sure.
It was he's the best, and it's like, I don't know, man. Like we're not real good in the running back room, right?
Yeah, the recruiting clearly didn't work out, and then it's also hard to.
A guy in the chat says, "Wow, y'all turning on Choice." Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's been
Who created the running back room, man? Was it gifted to you from the Greek gods?
Yeah.
From Mount Olympus? Did they bequeath it upon us, or did we go recruit those guys?
Well, it's tricky too to evaluate coaches when you have Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan and stuff like that. It's like I think I would look like a damn good coach there too. So it's like that's where it's hard in some of those situations. But how we left the room, the style of back that we got, he had these backs performing above standard. So
you recruit below standard backs and you have them perform above standard. All right. He did less with more with less. he created the less.
He had Bijan. He had Jahmyr Gibbs. What are we talking about? Like there was he wasn't lacking talent either. And so that's what I don't get. But
that's interesting. Well, we'll have to differ.
Yeah, we'll have to differ there.
I mean, I think probably the guy that's comparable to that would be Akina, right?
Yeah.
Because there was sort of a general sense of excitement from common fan. And I was kind of like, oh no, this isn't good.
Yeah.
I remember how this went last time.
I was in the group chat immediately when we got hired. I was like, this is some fan service nonsense. Like, this is not the move. And I understand that it was late in the cycle and all of that, the Nansen connection. But, and then you talk to former players that played for Akina How they speak about Akina publicly and privately are different. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's telling.
Yeah, it's telling when you talk to those players. Also, it's like, yeah, you looked good in man coverage. You had all-star. I look good in man coverage.
Nathan Vasher is hard to ruin.
Yeah, it's like, of course, they look like it's about athletes when you're coaching, man.
Well, so back in the old primitive days of recruiting, we used to buy the Recruits in Review VHS tape.
Sick. That was before my time, but that's awesome.
That's how I first evaluated our friend Drew Kelson.
Yeah.
But I remember getting the Recruits in Review video, and the guy who put it together lived in Austin. So I went and drove to his house, and it was like we were doing an illicit drug deal. You know, I got down, and there were like people parked on his street, just getting down, going to his front door, knocking, handing him $20, and walking off with the tape.
That's
and
awesome.
I remember putting in Nathan Vasher's, and just like the first two highlights, jumping out of my chair, like, oh my God. And the only other reaction I had comparable to that was Derek Johnson.
Yeah.
But I saw Derek Johnson live. I went to go see one of his games when he was at Waco. Unbelievable. Like, I mean, it was just silly. And so back then too, people don't realize this, but football was a little more colorful before they put in all the rules and, stuff. So back then you had the black helmet, you had the black visor helmet. You can't see. Guys would roll up their jerseys under their pads to show their six pack, the stud guys. And then they'd have like tape all over their pants, like creatively. And that was Derek Johnson. He was 6'4", probably weighed 200 pounds then. And he would line up on the line of scrimmage and beat the ball to the quarterback's hands in the snap.
Yeah.
And just monster people. And it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. I mean, I've still never seen high school highlights like that.
I remember hearing about the phone lines where you would call like 1-800 and they'd be like, this recruit's real good. And you'd be like,
Suzanne Halliburton.
Yeah, like
Tyson Coutre has signed.
Yeah, and it's like
University of Texas.
Yeah, you would call and pay money and they would tell you like that.
It was fun. It was much more fun. And
yeah,
it was honestly, you almost like were part of a secret society.
That's what I was gonna say. It felt like you were part of, and you were really like in the underground, and like, you couldn't everyone didn't just know about it, right?
Sounds like we're describing like ecstasy trade.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it from the VHS tape deal.
That's right.
But all right, so we know running back, offensive line. What's your number there? Like, how many bodies do you want?
Much more than people are saying.
I'm at 4.
I'm 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we need a tackle because people are like, we're good at tackle. It's like, we're not good at tackle. Yeah. We need a center, guard, utility, like combo guy. And then I think we need 2 guards.
Yeah.
And 4 of the 4, at least two have to be starters.
That's why I also want 4 too, because if you just take 3, which is like the minimum threshold, right, for like guard, swing tackle, one of those evals is not going to pan for whatever reason, or Texas. I was saying this yesterday. Texas has been really kind of lucky with injuries out the offensive line, but we break down teams every week. It's like their star guard is out, their left tackle is out. So it's like you have to be overstocked too, because somebody's not going to pan out and somebody's going to get hurt. Like, you can't afford to just have the bare minimum starters.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, so the first rule of O-line play, ye shall have no starter who sucks.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like the secondary. If you have one guy who sucks, they will game plan that guy.
Yep.
And they do everything to attack that guy. And it's hard. You can't cover up a bad offensive lineman. People are like, well, you can slide the protection. First of all, we broke down in the deep dive what our slid protections look like. But also, you just can't hide him. And the guy you can least hide actually is on the interior nowadays. Because it used to be like, oh, if you have a bad tackle, he'll get exposed. You can always play a tight end next to him. And it sucks. You got to keep a guy in on the route, but he can help out, right? But you just don't want a guy who isn't at least average starting on your offensive line, because he'll get picked on. And even if you have like 2 pro guys, if you have 2 guys that are below average or even poor next to those 2 pros, it doesn't you don't get the advantages of
Well,
having.
remember how Gooseby looked early because he had Stroh? It made Gooseby look bad because he was
Yeah.
constantly having a guy jump or he was trying to help out and stuff. So like Gooseby had a rough early season, and we were pointing out it's like it's not because of Gooseby's ability, it's because that left guard is putting him in awful situations all the time. And so that's the big thing. And this is the big difference in how I think about defensive football than I did. In football used to be like the defense would set their front and then the offense would have their response and how they would protect. That's not how it works at all anymore. Like if you listen to any defensive coordinator, they're dictating your protections. They are lining up, knowing what you will do, so therefore they can find the way to exploit that left guard. The offensive line does not dictate anything anymore in modern football. It is the defensive coordinator that is deciding what you'll do. And
Agreed.
if you have that weak link, they line up. They don't care what the front is. They're lining up specifically to target that guy. So that's the big shift that you have to make too, is that the offensive line has to be good because they're under serious schematic attack all the time. And we've seen that. It was also, but it was also so strange how just making that one change at left guard center switch, it was just like a lot better. Now they still give up a ton of pressures. A lot of that is Arch, but it's still different than what we saw earlier in the season. I don't know how it took that long to realize something that seemed so obvious as a potential mix and match, but is what it is. 4 guys at offensive line, running back. What do you want to do at tight end?
We're going to have to see what Endries does.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
I like some of our young guys there, but yeah, we're going to have to just see what Endries does. If he goes, then we've got to, I think we bring in a guy, but it's not dire. Like if we miss on tight end, I don't think it's season ending, right? It's like
a blocker, dude.
Yeah, those guys aren't super common, man. You got to kind of got to home grow them.
Well, that's the weird part, right? Is like
we just haven't recruited the position correctly. It's just true.
I mean, ever. But it's like you would think the 6'7" athletic tight end would be harder to find, but the blocker especially in Texas football, at the higher levels when it's all spread, maybe you can get the lower levels. But also,
I tell you what, I live in a football state that can't hold a candle to Texas and Colorado. There's tight ends everywhere. Like this state, Gunnar Helm was the norm. Like he was not unusual. The state is full of 6'5" dudes who weigh 230. And depending on how their body goes, they're either like split out tight end guy with great hands, or they're 260-pound mauler tight end. And Colorado's overrun with these guys. Texas, it's just like a rare specimen. I think those guys are all edge players in Texas because they want to run.
Well, a lot of them are both. They do that. They play edge and tight end.
But then they play like split out.
Well, you had like Lance Jackson and Nick Townsend. We're both edge tight ends too. Like,
and honestly, in a different world, Nick could have ended up at linebacker and been just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Lance Jackson could have played tight end if he wanted to.
Yeah, I mean that would be a waste. But
exactly. But it's like that's what they'll end up doubling as. But all right, wide receiver. Are you a number 1 guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's dire. And then you have to really evaluate your homegrown roster of, do you think there's a guy who's going to break out and just be a problem? And I'm not talking about Wingo. I'm talking about one of these freshmen. Like, is Dalen McCutcheon going to suddenly become a big, like a dude? Like 80 catches, 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns. So
that exercise scares me though, because this year we thought we had the break. The reporting, was, hey, guys, you're fine. Livingston, Wingo, we're fine. I don't trust these guys anymore. And
so sources lost some credibility with me.
Yeah. And so it's like, I don't trust. So that's the only reason why I'm like, look, I want a number 1 because I want to know what's up. Like for Arch's last year, because it's like, even if I hear this guy's due for a big season, it doesn't hold the same weight it did last offseason, I guess is all I'm saying. So it's like, that's why I want a number 1 there, just so we know. And then if one of those other guys pops, great. Now you have 2 wide receivers, and that's how you actually become an elite offense. It's not just one. You can shut down one. Once you have 2 guys, that's when you really, really go to the next level and help Arch.
Yeah, I would get a receiver if I could. I'm not paying $1.5 million. But, I don't think we're getting Cam Coleman. Newsflash, guys.
Right.
But, there's really good guys. It's kind of like running back. you can find dudes in the G5 who level up easily, and it's not super hard to evaluate. You can judge these guys once you get them against college competition. So there's going to be someone.
Yeah, and we played this game last year where we were like, we're good. We don't really need an elite guy. Get Mosley, right? Get a solid player. And I still think Mosley's our most sound skilled receiver, understanding of receiving. But we kind of played this game last year, and I'm not willing to play it again.
Actually, in fairness, we did try to go get some guys.
We did.
It was low key.
Yeah.
Chris Bell from Louisville was one of them. The guy from Baylor, whose name escapes me, the big athletic guy who's like 215. His name escapes me. He's like a super good athlete. But we did try to go get guys. And by the way, Chris Bell was a right call. Like, that guy had a great year. But we didn't hit on him. It didn't happen. So, I don't really put a ton of blame on the coaches on that one. I just, sometimes it doesn't work. It is what it is.
All right, offense. You feel good there now? We hit everything you want to hit. I think you get an insurance quarterback too out of the portal, just an older guy. Bell's going to be leaving. Just getting insurance.
There's always one of those guys available.
Yeah,
and they're happy to play at Texas.
Yeah, get an insurance quarterback and then see what Lacey can do and that kind of stuff. But just have a steady hand, because without Caldwell, Mississippi State Arch was playing well that game, so I can't say it would be a loss. But that was a hell of a second string quarterback to come in and play.
No man was more impressed by his one play clutch throws than Connor.
Yeah, it was awesome. Every time I just like anybody that just walks in and just does the job and then walks back out. I think that's a hilarious trait.
It is kind of funny, especially a quarterback where he's got to get his rhythm. It's going to take a quarter and a half.
Yeah,
he just comes out, throws a dime, and then goes back.
Yeah, and that's why. Yeah, it was just awesome.
Oh, we got super chat. We need to service here.
Let's see what we have. Starred with Akina leaving. What do you want to see in the next secondaries coach? I mean, ideally hired by our defensive coordinator would be cool too.
Let's get on the same page with what like Pete wants to do, because I'm hearing a lot of conflicting stuff about how Akina came to be here, and none of it's good. And it certainly wasn't like PK being like, "Hey, we should hire." Let's get a guy that PK can groove with and is collaborative and doesn't have to be the loudest voice in the room, but has the confidence to set the back end and isn't set in his ways, right?
Well, it's like you can't evaluate PK. It's like you end up evaluating Sark, and so it's like, or whoever, Nansen, whoever was involved in getting him here. But it's like
I've heard even more higher up than Sark was like, this is the guy, like you like kind of pushed it. And there's a lot of people pointing fingers about that right now, and I don't know who to believe. The key is to fix it. Like, hey man, if Jerry Gray isn't happy in Atlanta, go get that guy, right? I mean, just like, let's go get a guy who's just sound as the pound, like proven. Like, let's go.
Yeah. I do want PK figured it out. Is it 100% that Akina is gone? Nothing's 100%.
No, not 100%.
Yeah, it's not 100%. But Eric does believe that will be the case. The other coaches are much more kind of muddy on what's going to go on there. Before we keep going, though, Paul, I want to talk about Academy Sports and Outdoors. The holiday season is here, and Academy Sports and Outdoors has the legendary gifts you need at undefeatable prices every day. Shop in-store or online at academy.com to save on gifts on everybody's list. From football jerseys and basketball hoops to fire pits and deer stands, the most wonderful time of the year happens here. This Christmas, give the gift of fun from Academy Sports and Outdoors.
The Baylor receiver is Josh Cameron.
Okay. I don't know why I always want to say Thornton. He hasn't played there.
Tyquan Thornton is
quite a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Cameron, 6'1", 225 from Cedar Park. He had about 900 yards receiving this year. He had a big year last year. Kind of like a big athlete after the catch guy. Really good punt returner too.
All right, defense. You want anything at defensive tackle? It looks like Hero Canoe will return.
That's big news. I tell you what. I mean,
you're a big hero guy.
I'm a hero guy. I was looking for a hero. If you guys watched our deep dives, you know that I always tried to work in some Hero Canoe love. But he played the best of all of our interior defensive linemen, and he was the most consistent all year. Best pass rusher inside too. Just a really disruptive player, and he's athletic. He came in. He was well, I'm not going to get on this Jag, but he came in and he was the most athletic and one of the strongest defensive players on the defensive line. The other strongest defensive player was Cole Brevard. Funny how that works.
One of my favorite moments of the season was the outtake where you tried to pick another player. It didn't make the video because
it was him.
And so he was like, man, this player did a really good job. And we're like watching it halfway through. And then I was like, no, man, that's Hero Canoe.
That's Hero Canoe again.
And Paul just has a natural, even when he thinks he's picking another player, it ends up being Hero Canoe.
I do really love the athletic 300-pounder inside, right? Like, I know there's been a big trend of like, let's get this dude who's 350 and, he's going to be a wall. And if he's 350 and with some athleticism, yeah, bring it on. But, those guys get tired. They're not great pass rushers usually. If you got a 300-pound dude who can hold against a double team, but then bring his athleticism to bear, that's the guy I really love inside.
They're like, you need a 320-pound anchor. It's like, well, actually, then you need two because those guys aren't going to play a full game. So it's like, that style, that means you got to buy two. If you can get those athletic kind of can play one, can play three tech, that kind of stuff, they can stay in longer. You have to buy less of them. But if you want anchors, then you're going to need, maybe you can have them just in short yardage, but generally you need two at that point if that's your style of player that you want on your interior. So Melvin Hills leaves. Do you think we need another guy? I mean, of course, like a BPA, but how do you feel at DT? Do you need anybody?
If there's a super stud that wants to come here, by all means. Yeah. But also we have to see there may be a couple of guys leave because they don't feel like they're part of the rotation. Also, don't forget, we do have some younger guys that are quite good.
Well, that's where I'm at, too. Like, let's see what Sharma can do. Let's
Justice
see
Berry, Sharma.
Charles.
I mean, that is the reason. So people are like, look at all these teams opting out of bowls. They're weak. They're soft. I mean, I guess some coaches are like, hey, these bowl practices are overrated. But to me, the purpose of them is it's about working your Josiah Sharmas. It's about working, like you just say, hey, guys, we've got 15 practices. You're really going to run like 10 or 12, right? 7 of our practices are entirely a focus on redshirt freshmen, like and true freshmen and sophomores. Like, let's figure out who's improved, who wants to play. Let's figure out who wants to be in the rotation next year.
This is how you know your portal because you only have one shot.
Yeah.
So this is actually your spring to evaluate and see what you're missing. So that's why, too, the younger guys need to play because that's really going to tell you what your future looks like. January, yeah, we like January. He's a given to me. It's like Canoe.
Yeah, I want January to come back.
Yeah, for sure. There's no question there. We're talking more about like Hero because Paul loves Hero and then the younger guys. But the guys in the middle, yeah, come back. All right, edge. Eric reports that we are probably looking for a younger buck position as a speed edge.
One guy.
And yeah, because we might lose one guy. So, and also, man, that room's so talented. I mean, every other team, man. Yeah, and every other school in the nation is going to be saying, you know how many dudes Texas had? You could play 50 reps here instead of, so it's like you got to play that game, but also someone expecting to leave. So they are targeting like a younger, longer curve speed player at Buck. But we'll see there. That's not a major room of concern room of concern for me.
I'm just so happy we get another year of Colin Simmons.
Colin Simmons, I'm really excited to see what Lance Jackson can do. That'll
Those
be
two guys across from each other.
Yeah, exactly. Buck and Jack, that's a hell of a combination. Linebacker Anthony Hill declares, did his work 3 years and out, was a good 5-star, played early, just kind of the perfect 5-star trajectory that you want, man. Shout out Denton. And so he'll be opting out. We'll talk about if Manny opts out too. But linebacker is going to be a little thin next year. So that's room that we need to target. And especially kind of like a box player is something I'd want to. A real thumper, Paul. But we're going to have Smith, LaFau, Bo Barnes, and then the freshman Tyler Atkinson. But a little more experience would probably be ideal. What do you think, though?
Yeah, a lot's going to rest on Bo Barnes and his development, I think. And then between Anthony Smith and LaFau, I think Lafau kind of showed us he may be a Mike.
Yeah,
I mean, playing in lieu of Hill, and Lafau played really well against the Aggies at Mike, and frankly, Lafau hadn't been playing well.
it was so weird. He had probably the best performance for me versus Ohio State.
He was incredible.
He was awesome versus Ohio State, and then just started to degrade, and then came back versus Texas A&M. So that was so weird. But man, I was thinking Lafau was going to be one of the top performing linebackers in the country after Ohio State.
Yeah, I would go get a guy. It makes sense to me. Because especially, I think we're not solely sold on Brad Spence playing off the ball. I think he's more of a Trey Moore guy, where he can, but it's not his strength.
It's not wise.
Ultimately, you want to get him on the edge.
Whenever they were doing that, remember in the preseason, me and Ian would argue about it, but I was like, why Trey Moore at linebacker? Like, why? Like, I get the NFL implicated.
Always to get him to return.
Yeah, I get it. And so it's like, I understand the other factors, but I was just like, man, an edge and a linebacker are different things. They're asked to do different things, and they need a different level of experience. So look, if you can get a true off-ball linebacker like Hill that can pass rush, great. Don't give me a pass rusher that you think can do linebacker things. I don't like the inverse of it. And that's tricky. I keep hearing from people we're going to lose one edge, but no one's dropping that. Well, because the problem is if we say a name and they don't, then all the fans hate them. So it's like you don't want, that's why we don't do it, because then everyone on Twitter starts talking trash about the player and whatever. And then if they don't leave now people feel a certain way about them. So you just wait till they go on the portal and actualize it, because things can change and all of that. But you don't want to turn the fans on a player for no reason if you don't have to. All right. Secondary. This is an intriguing room at corner because of the youth there. It's still mostly a projectable thing, but we think Littleton and Cade Phillips most likely are starting corners. Then we have to figure out what we're doing at star. We have to figure out if Warnell Mack wants to stay. And so that's a factor too.
Kobe Black.
And exactly. And if Kobe Black wants
A&M performance was incredible. So,
and do you move Black to star because he showed really good awareness? He showed good ability in the run game. A lot of those traits are great at nickel. And so we got to see that. Does he even want to be a nickel? Those kind of things. So, Kobe Black could go play somewhere else if he wanted to. So we have to see what's going on there.
Well, this is where I'd like to get a secondary coach in, because I want him doing that evaluation and also setting what our defensive philosophy is going to be, because I have a sense that Kobe Black really thrives when he's got a cover over the top and he feels secure that if this guy does a double move on me and gets a step, I've got a guy behind me and I'm fine.
Right.
Because when you're a big corner, you really get a lot more confidence that you can manhandle someone and really get in their business when you've got a guy behind you and you know it. There's a lot of philosophies and systems where there's ways that an offense can align where your star has got to be able to carry a vertical by himself.
And coordinators spend a lot of time trying every check to avoid that.
Yeah, but there's ways you can align it, right, against certain defenses. So, that's something we got to figure out. And also, is Kobe Black really a safety at his core?
Yeah, but that's the problem is, like, safety is a slur to a corner. Like, you say it to them, and they're just like, how dare you? You would think you would have said something about their mother. Even though safety to me is my favorite defensive position, I have a ton of respect for that position. But corners hate to even be suggested. I remember in high school, he didn't want to be suggested because people were whispering, he's big, man, maybe he could be a safety. And then he turns around and shows great awareness and hitting. And I'm like, safety can do that. You know, and the problem with Kobe is the long speed, right? Like getting beat by an outside receiver. Well, if you're a safety, now you have all this recovery time and you have good recognition so you can get there. But I think it's probably a non-starter to even attempt to move him there. So that we have a bunch of really young, highly ranked players that have been known for a while. So they have that ego and they're talented. And so that's going to be an interesting room. And what we do in the secondary coaching, because it also depends. Some guys are going to come back depending on if that change is made. If that change is not made, they will leave because they don't have a good working relationship. So that's the reality too, is that, do you want to keep these players that don't have a good relationship with the secondary coach? And how quick do you want to make that move if you don't want them to leave? So that'll be a big thing. Safety is really important. Can you get Jelani back? Eric said that it sounds like he's getting good advice, which is nice. Get him to return. Then the safety outlook looks a lot better. But Jordan Johnson-Rebel, could think about it with playing time. Derek Williams for sure needs a change at secondary coach to come back. So that's the big piece right there is what do we do coaching wise, really? I nailed it. You don't got any response. That's good.
Just when you hit a home run, what else am I going to do?
Exactly. Just stunned. So that'll be a big thing. Any final Portal things before we live a hypothetical college football playoff run?
Or talk about our bowl opt-outs or Michigan.
Oh yeah, we can talk. Yeah, we can talk about that. Well, that's what we'll talk about next.
You know, we should talk about next. What you shouldn't opt out of if you got a house or if you need to buy a house. Gabe Winslow. 832-557-1095. You've got to call Gabe to get hooked up with the best damn mortgage guy on this planet. That's Gabe. If you are currently looking to refi, talk to Gabe right now, especially if your rate's like 6.5, higher than 6.5. Give him a call. There's a good chance he can refi you for free. He's also been giving a lot of year-end incentives that he's built up because he's a super high volume originator. And these wholesale lenders will give him extra bips that he could throw around to his customers. Instead of putting them in his pocket as profit, he likes to throw them to customers, especially inside Texas customers. So if you call Gabe, identify yourself as Paul and Homer sent me. Paul and producer sent me.
No.
Producer.
No.
Your name is producer.
When I'm on screen, I'm Homer. I'm producer when I'm off screen. Dude.
No, in a lot of cultures, producers aren't considered people. So you should feel honored that I'm even talking to you. But anyway, tell him that we sent you. He's going to treat you extra special. 832-557-1095. And of course, if you're looking for a new house, get the best in your corner. There's no reason to mess around with nonsense. And God help you if you just go lowest rate in my city and then you hit Google and if you go to and hit one of those ad bots. Enjoy the 97 phone calls you get from mortgage people who don't do any business and don't know what they're doing. Enjoy that. Or you can just call Gabe and make sure you get on top of this process right away. 832-557-1095.
The worst thing you can do is go to one of those lead generation sites that are just vague mortgage, and they're like, give me your email. I used to work in marketing. I know how those sites work.
And then they sell your email to every other Nigerian scammer possible.
Yep. But whenever I'm looking for a new crib, Gabe's going to be my call. It's not just some marketing thing we're doing.
That's what Justin Wales says in the chat.
All right.
Is he making fun of Justin Wells with that name?
No, he wouldn't do that.
You know, Justin Wells, it's all an act. You guys know that, right? He speaks with an English accent.
Yeah.
His real name is Nigel St. Clair.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And this is all a put on.
Yeah. Yeah. He's not American.
He's not American. He doesn't come from East Texas. He does not have that accent.
Yeah.
The minute we go dark on the screen and he's just with us,
like,
oh, chaps, that would capitally.
It's like Larry the Cable Guy. It's all an act with Justin.
All shtick.
All right. Opt-outs. You've done a piece on this, Paul. Let me pull it up though. Who do you think's out? Michigan does have some dudes. But are those dudes going to head off to the NFL and we're not going to see them?
I think their two best edge players, Barham and Moore, are going to opt out. And they were the main pass rush. They're responsible for the most pressure. Derek Moore is their leading sack guy, leading pressure guy. And then Jashawn Barham is the other linebacker. He plays more of a hybrid role, but he's at his best when he's blitzing, when he's disrupting. And he is a super athlete. So his performance does not always match his athletic skills, but he's a dude that Homer, he's the classic guy. He's the trap of he'll show it to you in games. And then when he goes and gets tested in the combine, he's going to be 6'4", 250, 4'5", 40, 41-inch vertical, great short shuttle, blah, blah, blah. And then he's going to have game tape where you're like, there it is.
Yeah.
He's got other games where he doesn't really even show up. But what's the NFL about once you get past round 2? Traits, man.
Oh, heart. Just having
heart. Not heart. Traits.
Belief in yourself, man.
Not heart. The opposite of heart. Everything you and I contributed as high school players, the NFL is not interested in.
I didn't even have much heart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I lacked traits and heart, so it was not a good combination.
Were you a locker room lawyer? Were you a negative Nancy?
No, I was pretty fun in the locker room. I enjoyed the locker room. Is probably my favorite part. I just like hanging out with my friends. Like that was. I didn't particularly like playing left tackle at all. But No, I liked hanging out with my friend. It's Texas, man. You just play football, you know. It's
You
like
kind of are obligated to.
Yeah, you never had a choice, you know.
If you're bigger than average and like mildly athletic, they're like, you're playing football. You don't really have a choice.
Yeah, you don't.
It's funny. I've always been really suspicious when I meet guys that are like big, you know, athletic guys. And I'm like, oh, you know, did you play any high school sports? And they're always like, no, I didn't play anything. And you're like, huh. Interesting.
Yeah, it's not even really an option. Like,
as you would say, interesting.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. So Derek Moore, Barham, get out of here. What about that damn running back? He's pretty good.
Yeah, he is good. His replacement's pretty good too. So I don't think that's going to cripple them. But I think Justice Haynes is going to go pro. Before he got his injury, he was kicking ass. And he was like he had long speed. He was housing runs. He was averaging 7 yards a carry.
Yeah, he
got hurt. I think he's going to be available for this game if he wanted to play. I think he might just go to the NFL if he's assured of being a top 100-ish pick. Because the truth is, as a running back, I'm not sure you can really improve your draft stock once sort of the book is out on you. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think there's any value.
If people like you in the NFL and you can go like round 3 or 4.
I've never seen a great player that's going to get drafted high and then their bowl game, their non-playoff game performance was like, you know what, that really put it over the top. Could be a middling player.
Well, you know, you really, besides the injury, you play Texas and you have 11 carries for 14 yards and you get lit up a couple of times and fumble.
Yep.
You might have cost yourself $100.
That's true. Yeah, it's a bummer because as a fan, you want to see all these guys play.
Yeah,
but the business reality of it, like if I was in that position, you probably got to listen to your agent there, man.
I do have to say that his replacement Jordan Marshall is good, so it's not like Michigan takes a huge step back. Whereas if they lose Barham and Moore, they're going to take a step back. TJ Guy is not as good as those two guys. They don't have guys with comparable impact on the edges, and that's good news for Texas because. If they kind of lose their pass rush and the way that Wink Martindale calls defense and the way Sark gets in his head, I don't think that goes well for the Wolverines. So maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Rayshawn Benning is their best interior defensive lineman. I think he's a later round draft pick, so he'll probably just play. But he's going to play in the Senior Bowl, which is late January. Sometimes guys who play in the Senior Bowl take off that time just to train.
Yeah, exactly. They're just working.
Like just working out, just doing speed stuff, healing their bodies. Because those Senior Bowl, it's not the Senior Bowl game that matters. It's the Senior Bowl practices.
Yeah.
So we talking about practice.
Yeah, we are.
Not the game, practice.
But yeah, that's where all the scouting is actually going on.
That's right.
All right. You don't know what's going on, though, for some of these guys. We got a linebacker. We only got one linebacker here.
Ernest Hausman, their starting interior linebacker, off-the-ball linebacker, he missed the last 2 games because he had a spiritual awakening. He deleted his Twitter, and he didn't show up to the team facility.
I thought you were joking.
No. This is what happened. And
that's scary.
It's honestly kind of scary, right? It's like concerning. But I don't think he's going to play in the game. Let's just say, let me go out on a limb and say that. So Michigan, if they're going to be down opt-outs, their offense is fine because their talented players on offense are all young, and all their older players are either offensive linemen who are like late round picks and they're going to play anyway because they're offensive linemen, or there's kind of jags like scrubs, like their older receivers just aren't good. Yeah. So like their best offensive players are a true freshman quarterback, Justice Haynes, who we just talked about, and then their true freshman from Texas, Nick Marsh, who a lot of us at IT really liked.
Eric keeps mentioning him.
Eric really liked that guy. To his credit, he was like, I would take Nick Marsh. Like, I don't know why we're getting all fired up about this guy. But
is it Nick or Andrew? I get those.
I'm sorry, it's Andrew. Yeah. It's Andrew. My bad. And then I think if Michigan does get hit, it's going to be on defense. It's going to be in their front 7.
Good. Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
What we want. Who do you think's going to opt out for us besides the obvious? Is Taft going to opt out, or is he going to be like, I'm playing for Texas?
I don't know. That's tough because
his agent's going to be like opt out, and Taft's going to be like,
Taft really needs to be
taking that plan. You were talking like the Senior Bowl, like he needs to be getting all his testing numbers perfect, right? Like he needs to maximize there and test well there, but also Taft is like so ride or die.
Taft got to run a 4.5, right?
Exactly. Like to me, that's a tough one. Of course, I want him to play, but when you're kind of borderliney, right, where they're like, yeah, I know you're smart, but he also put some bad tape out towards the end there before. So it's like, I don't know, man. I think business-wise, you would actually just be like, man, I just need you to work out. Like you can't risk an injury in any of this stuff either. So I don't know. That's a really good one. That's a tough one.
My instincts say he plays.
Probably, yeah. His mindset. But man, if I was advising him, I'd be like, hey, man. Because Taft needs to improve his tape from the last few weeks. He looked bad. Yeah, he did. But I don't think that one game is going to solve that too. Because a lot of the tape was like missed tackle stuff and that. I don't know how much you can improve it.
Well, it's amazing how once we cleaned up the scheme, suddenly Taft played really well against A&M. Real shocker there.
Yeah, hopefully the NFL.
I got news for you, Justin. A lot of DB's tape looked bad the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we unscrewed ourselves and relearned cover 3, which I've taught a group of 6th graders, by the way. And suddenly we all looked like all-stars in the secondary. Amazing.
Yeah, odd. I don't know who else would even be eligible. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? Texas doesn't have a lot of players going to the NFL, and guess what? We didn't have a great season. So it was kind of, that was one of my questions I asked specifically in the preseason. I was like, who's going like early round on this team this year? Like we know it. And they couldn't name that many. And so that's why I was like, because our success, we can act like it was the love of the Longhorns, but we had 12 NFL guys that were ready to go. And like we have 3 or 4?
Well, more than that. What just depends on opt-outs. I mean
like early rounders. I don't even know if we have 3 or 4. We have Anthony Hill that I think is like late first, early second. So we don't even have a guarantee.
Burke is going to get drafted.
Yeah, how early though? I'm talking about like we had a bunch of 12 guys and early draft.
Yeah, no, true. I don't think we have a bunch of like first rounders. That's true.
Yeah. So it's like I kind of knew in the preseason. I shouldn't have been so naive. But I was asking that early on. So that'll be a good thing. I don't think Texas will lose a lot of guys like you said, but how are you? Are you this is a must-win, get to 10? If you win, it matters.
There's no bowl now that's must win.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Are you living more in reality now, or
was I not living in reality?
No, I mean, maybe today you started. We'll see, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the end of the world is that we win the Cheez-It Bowl, but it does feel like a nice jump off into the offseason. And it does sound like I would like the A&M game to be confirmed.
Me too.
Like, I would like that personally. It's going to infuriate me again because I'm also going to watch these playoffs and I'm going to be freaking like, we would beat that team's ass. Like, I can't believe they're in.
That's what made me worried because, some of the thought is like, look, man, we figured it out versus A&M. If we could just keep going, we could really make a run. But I just don't. And we got better towards the end of the year. We conveniently kind of leave out the Georgia loss when we think about that. But I don't know if their consistency was there either. I don't know if we would got in the playoffs and it's still 900 penalties and stuff like that. I just, like you said, I don't know if that A&M thing means they figured it out, we were good, or we had an inspired performance.
We clearly figured some stuff out that would have carried over.
I don't know if the coaches would have just immediately unfigured it out too.
No, I think we figured something out on defense at least, right?
Play cover 3.
Try.
That's where I'm like, come on, man.
If you're in doubt, carry the receiver up. Don't pass him off to an imaginary safety that's not
Don't vacate the middle of the field. Don't give 100 yards in the middle of the field every single time against teams that like to target it. But that's why I want to see Michigan. And I do want the win because there's just it's not logical, but just 10 feels better than 9, And
it does, and it allows you to do stupid PR clip like under Steve Sarkisian, Texas has won 10 or more games the last 3 years.
Well, Sark's even said it in press conferences.
Right.
Like, he wants that. There's something magic. And that 10th win used to mean more. So now it's not like the same meaning, but I think the 10th win matters. And luckily, you are playing. It feels like we play the same teams now, just on repeat. But you are playing a really good brand in Michigan, so you got a money fight too. So that's nice. You're gonna have two fan bases that actually should care enough. But that's
here's why you should care, because I'll tell you this about Michigan and Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore has had some issues this year, coaching, like in-game coaching, like calling a timeout 2 seconds before the 2-minute timeout, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like he forgot that that's a thing. But Alabama decided to grace the ReliaQuest Bowl last year with their presence. And if you recall, a bunch of their guys didn't opt out. The thing was like, we're going to play for Alabama because we're pissed about the playoff, right? And Michigan showed up fired up, and Alabama showed up like, we're blessing you with our presence. And Michigan beat their ass.
Alabama showed up like that versus Georgia.
Yeah,
like
Auburn.
like they're.
So I don't want to get into a playoff, Jack, but Alabama moved up a spot in the CFP rankings after the Auburn and Georgia performance back to back.
Well, if you look at it, right, like
that's incredible.
Let's politic again. Like if you look at Bama's resume, if you look at Bama's resume and ours, it was like, well, Texas lost to Florida. It's like, well, they lost to Florida State. And then it's like, well, you guys struggled with Mississippi State, Kentucky. It's like, well, they struggled with Auburn. Auburn gets magical grace because it's a big brand. But if you're evaluating Auburn on the field this year, they're not a good team. They get that grace. They beat, I think, at the time, number 5 Georgia. When they played them, they beat them. Texas beat number 3 A&M. And so it's like all these resumes are almost exactly similar. And they never once discussed Alabama in that way. I know they make it to the –
well, they couldn't. So here's why. And I wrote about this in my article. Texas was omitted from the discussion.
Dude, we weren't on any graph. I knew watching the Saturday games, we weren't even
because it expands the discussion into areas they don't want, which is Texas played 5 of the top 14 teams in the CFP. No other team did that. And we went 3-2. Notre Dame, the big wronged, they were wrong. This is a team that was going to win the national title if they'd let them in, right? All that nonsense. They played 2 teams in that top 14, and they went 0-2.
Well, this is
you don't want to introduce Texas into the discussion at all, because you have to take a big step back and say, what are we actually evaluating here? In a playoff, shouldn't we evaluate how you play, and have you played a bunch of playoff teams? Because we've set the field. This is the field. Texas has played half these teams and has a winning record. Notre Dame's played them twice and lost both games. Well, Notre Dame beat the crap out of Syracuse, starting a lacrosse walk-on at quarterback.
So this is how Notre Dame's really evil. So like they'll play good teams early. If they win, it's proof that they're awesome.
Yeah. And then if
they lose, it's proof that they improved in the season. Never mind, they played defenses consistently ranked 90th or worse at the end of the season. So of course they looked good towards the end. But they didn't talk about that once. It was just Notre Dame, man, they've really improved. It's like, how about we look about the defenses they're playing? But hate the game, not the player, because Notre Dame knows what they're doing there. But I'm glad that they got called out for it. But it was just, and I'm not saying Texas in over Bama. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that those were very comparable resumes. And Texas, they didn't hit a single one of the points that they constantly beat against why Texas can't be in.
When I love this illusory creation of precedent, that the precedent is like a month. Like, this is the precedent. You can't penalize someone for how they play in a title game. And it's like, well, you did with Florida State 2 years ago. But since then, they act like it's Marbury versus Madison.
I know they act like 100 years of our tradition here.
Yes. But an entire case law is built out around this one seminal case. So my point was, when I wrote my piece, which got a lot of response on Inside Texas, was they're just making it up as they go along. And once you realize that the selectors are the process, the members of the committee are the process, then it's just an act of collaborative fiction. It's no different than me telling bedtime stories to my son when he was a little kid. And I'd stop at a key moment and go, and then what happened? And then he'd have to fill in, the part of he thought, to help him understand storytelling and narrative and involve him, right? You realize that's what the committee's doing. And you realize the head of the committee is a guy, Hunter Yurachek, who's fired his football coach. His football team went 2-10.
Why is this guy allowed to say what a good team looks like? He doesn't know.
They made a bad hire in Ryan Silverfield. Like anyone who studied Memphis and knows about Kingmaker programs, he can't evaluate his own program. So who is he to evaluate anyone else's program? It's very odd.
What's crashes? It's crashy, by the way. What's
Crashing. Just crashing.
No, it's
like Beyonce.
He's a monster truck. One time, my mom and I, when I was a kid, we used to do that story game, and we were driving to Waco to visit my grandmother, and I would not stop. She had to do the story game for like 2 hours. Eventually, I hand it off to her, and she kills off the main character. And I still was like whoa. I'm like 7. Like, you can't kill it. So she was just tired. And she was like,
and then the noble prince met the princess, and your mom's like, and then he was diagnosed with leukemia.
Yeah, that's exactly. She just killed him off because she was like,
he died a slow and painful death. Back to you, Connor. And you're like, one tear rolling down your cheek.
Just quiet, looking out.
Just quiet. I don't want to play this game anymore.
She made bold choices. She was a real
I can see that.
But that's what was annoying is that Texas wasn't even in the graphics. And I don't have if you're gonna argue and use those points against Texas, use it against them. If Alabama can't be penalized for the bowl or their conference game, BYU also can't. And it's just like that's what drove me nuts. And why would you ever say, as somebody who's trying to evaluate, I want less data points? That was a great data point.
Yeah.
That Alabama showed up looking soft and Georgia bullied them and they beat them by 3 scores. So it's like, why wouldn't you want that? And they're like, well, the SEC games have to matter. It's like, you just made them so they don't matter. Georgia did not move and Alabama
went up.
Well, they went up, but really nothing happened. That game didn't need to exist, right? Besides conference pride. So it's like you're saying the games need to matter. What you chose, what would matter is if you get beat by 21 and look soft doing it, that it does matter and you get dropped. But I know Sankey would have been like, guess what next year's playoffs look like?
Well, and here's the thing when I say the selectors of the process, look at who the selectors are and what their background is. These are mostly bureaucrats and former coaches, retired coaches, who coached at either the dregs of the P2, Big Ten, SEC, the bottom tier, the take the loss and take the check group, right? Combined with people from the Big 12, ACC, and G5. That's the selectors. The selectors aren't from Georgia, Texas, and Michigan, right?
Yeah, those coaches got stuff to do. And
so these are people either who are small time or they have resentment about the big dogs. So you've got all sorts of like little axes to grind, and they're very into representation. Look, I mean, I said it, and anyone who disagrees with me, I can't prove it. I don't have the smoking gun memo because these people are smart enough not to write anything down. But if Duke lost to Virginia, Virginia's in the playoff, obviously, and Notre Dame is in the playoff.
Yeah.
Duke winning guaranteed that the ACC had to have a representative, and that ACC representative is Miami. And suddenly they remembered, their crack research team discovered that Miami had played Notre Dame. I don't know if you knew that.
Did you hear they rewatched that game?
To me, that's the funniest thing. But they weren't allowed to rewatch that game or discuss that game unless they were ranked side by side. Did you know that?
Well, those are the
rules. Did you know that? They made up those rules about a week ago, but those are the rules.
I think it was Censored Horn on Twitter. Whoever it was, I'm trying to give you credit, but he made it, and I had made this point too, that what they did, they would over penalize losses by teams they thought earlier in the year would be great.
Yes.
So they would punish you worse. And Miami got a little bit of that. Texas definitely did. So Texas loses to Ohio State, drops to 7th on a 7-0 game. Now, we didn't look great, sure, but it was still penalized heavily. Then you lose to Florida, Texas, you were supposed to be good. Now you're not even ranked, right? And then they overcorrect again, bring Texas back to 10th with Georgia, and then lose to them by 25. I mean, it's significant. And then you get dropped down to 17th. That's the moment Texas died, by the way. Yeah. That's where they said you couldn't be in. But Alabama loses by 21, and they move up a spot. But it's like Texas also, if you have a preseason expectation, also Texas is a firebrand, right? So you have a lot of people that are looking for Texas, but they were over penalizing teams that they thought would be better. They can't do that. They need to have a steadier hand. They did it with Miami, and then they had to self-correct. They did it with Texas. You can't punish them more because of what the AP or preseason thought.
Well, the other factor of this, of course, beyond the dynamic I pointed out with the ACC, was that the ACC is terrible. Their champion lost to UConn, lost to Tulane. These are two G5 schools, effectively. UConn's technically an independent. They're evaluated as a G5. And they play a G5 schedule. They lost to Delaware and Rice. Like, give me a break. And then they lost a third non-con. They went 1-3 in their non-con and won the ACC. The ACC is terrible.
Yeah.
So to me, any ACC loss precludes you from the playoff. Guess who lost to ACC teams? Alabama, Miami, and Notre Dame.
Yeah.
That's the worst conference, top to bottom. And those are the teams at the end that we're putting on the graphic, and Texas isn't even there, right? Along with BYU. Like, give me a break. So I just think it's nonsense, obviously. And people say, well, you know, Texas has a bad loss with Florida. Yeah, that is a bad loss. Florida State wasn't a bad loss for Bama.
I know. That's
And
that's
if
all I'm
Florida
saying.
had played Florida State head-to-head. Oh, they did. What happened?
Yeah. Also, look how many guys go pro off that Florida squad. Like, and they were still like the 45th ranked team in FEI. Like, there's levels to this, and we're just like we're not getting that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's frustrating is at the same time, you have to acknowledge Texas underachieved.
Right.
Okay.
I agree.
I mean, globally.
Yeah.
You could point to the players on the field and say, well, blah, blah, blah is not very good. I'm not sure if we underachieved. No, I mean, the play and construction and everything we decided to do with this team from the start, we underachieved. That said, if you put us in the playoff field right now and assign national championship odds, we're not number 12, guys. We're not number 11. We're not number 10. We're probably number 6.
I was going to say, we're somewhere in that middle there.
We're probably behind Tech because they have a bye, right? But probably equal or maybe slightly ahead of A&M.
Yeah.
That's the reality. And Notre Dame can play the same game. That's true.
Yeah.
But it does demonstrate the falsity of this system, right? It's a lot of things, a lot of knowledge in this world. It's difficult to assert, but what's useful is the process of falsification. So if you propose a theory, this is Karl Popper type stuff. If you propose a theory and it's not falsifiable, you haven't really proposed anything.
Correct.
Right?
You have to be able to prove it wrong.
There's a falsifiability to the product that we just put out. And you can't really get around it.
Yeah.
So not to get too deep into like the structure of scientific revolutions and all that kind of stuff, but you know, that is an interesting thing when you want to say, am I being biased or is this bogus? The question is this falsifiable? And what are the processes to do so? And if you can falsify it, it ain't good.
Well, it's just the product sucks this year. Like, we have some good hate watching for us, but it's like,
dude, who's going to watch Oregon JMU?
You've basically given 6 teams a bye now, right?
Yeah.
Because you've given your 4 off and then 2. And that's also an unfair advantage in the next round because Oregon doesn't need to game prep for JMU. They're ready. They can scout the next 2 options. It's an unfair advantage on top of everything to be able to play these teams in the playoffs.
Well, Joey Austin makes a good point in the chat, but he says we need Tulane and JMU to be embarrassed in the first round. Cool. Remember when SMU, we couldn't penalize the championship game loss, an ACC runner-up. They have to make the playoff. We send them up to Penn State, and the game is non-competitive. It was 28-0 at halftime. Like, did we learn anything from that? Did we carry over any knowledge from that? Did we use our falsification doctrine? No. So guess what, Joey? They are probably going to get blown out. And guess what? That knowledge will be meaningless next year. We'll pretend it never happened.
Yeah. So me and Paul don't think Texas is going to make the playoffs.
We don't think we're going to make it. By the way, I do have a Texas National Championship ticket at DraftKings that if anyone is interested in, I will sell it to you at half price.
Wow, that is great. And he's not whatever.
I'm going to lose money on it. That's how kind I am.
Who's I think in your article you said OU has the worst odds besides the G5 team.
Yeah, OU is by far the least credited FBS. Not is it FBS? No, it would be P4. Yeah, they're the least confident P4 team. I mean, and you could see if based on their play. That said, they drew the second weakest team in the opening round in Alabama. So, I mean, no one wants to see that game. By the way, you could have fixed that if the committee was halfway competent. You could have had Miami, OU, Alabama, A&M, and you could say, well, it's still SEC teams. They didn't play each other.
Dude, that's the problem. Is we have what, Tulane, Ole Miss rematch. We get Bama, OU rematch. Like these rematches, even for those, boring. It's a boring.
And people will do that. Like, well, the committee said they don't care about rematches. I care about rematches. The viewing public cares about rematches. You know who cares about rematches? The NCAA tournament in basketball.
Yeah,
they're like, all right, Texas and Florida played each other 3 times in the regular season. We're not rematching them in round 2. Like, just move Texas to the 11th seed. That's fine.
And if they rematch through natural means or whatever, sure, fine. That's
if they meet the Elite 8, whatever.
Yeah, but it's just the playoffs.
Like there's just like a basic dude in that room, me or you, just mocking them, like being like, "This is what you're doing. This is who you're matching up. This is how you compared resumes. Oh, you couldn't compare Miami and Notre Dame until this week. Really? Why? Why is that? Like, get out of here."
Well, it's funny because literally everyone hates the playoffs. Teams that are in it, teams that are like
out.
I've never seen no one likes this, even teams that are in.
Well, here's the bummer. I don't want to go to 16. But what people are going to do is say, well, look, to minimize these debates, let's just go to 16. But then the same argument will be made for why you got to go to 24.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to keep expanding things. Can we just keep something like elite? Dude, we can determine, hey, here's a newsflash. We could determine the national champion to a satisfactory level this year with 4 or with 8.
I think we've always been able to do that.
I mean, probably.
That's not really the point of the playoffs. Like, the point of the playoffs really is money generation, and it's more fun for fans to like have that extra game. It's just more fun. But I think 16 is interesting because, and I do think you run into the problem of like, well, what if we just had all teams play 12 season games to determine, like, you might just end back up with regular season football. Well, but it's like, to me, when you do include the 16, of course, Texas is in that group, so probably some bias there. But you also do include a lot of those 10-2, 9-3s that have real arguments. I don't think anyone at 17 had a real argument. So I think that's the difference. But their argument will be not that they should have been top 12. Their argument will be, well, I should have been 16th.
Yes.
And so that's where it's tricky. But I do agree that 16 feels a little bit nicer because you have some real claims in that spot this year, at least. Who knows?
Well, and I'm such a fuddy-duddy, like, boomer. I'm Gen X, but the kids call me a boomer, right? Anyone above 30 is a boomer.
Yep.
I like eliteness.
Yeah.
If you want to send me on a crazy jag for the offseason, which we'll have to bank this, ask me about the Hall of Fames and like watering down Hall of Fames to like the Hall of Pretty Good or the Hall of Good.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame should be like, it shouldn't even be a discussion when you put a player up. Like, the attitude should be, of course, yes, he's a Hall of Famer. If you have to debate it in a serious manner, he's not a Hall of Famer.
Should be a no-brainer.
It's like people do this. It's like the Hall of Very Good. Well, he hit 280 for 13 years. Like, that's pretty good. He's not in the Hall of Fame. Like, what are we talking about here?
But I think it's doing this. I think it sorts. I mean, the eliteness still ends up winning. So it's like you still get it. But it's more. I think the playoffs are fun, but they're going to have to make some serious changes because they made this one not fun. Not just for a Texas fan. Like I said, across the board, everyone hates these playoffs. Know what you are, man. We want to find the best champion. That's the goal. It's not forcing spots. I'm good with a straight 12 seed. just straight up.
Well, and here's the other thing. These are people who I'm pretty confident don't understand advanced analytics or statistics. So when they're trying to employ those things as a differentiator, and then they're asked to discuss it, if you and I got interrogated on ESPN of like, defend yourself of why you have him above him, you and I would say, well, here's why if you dig a little deeper in the numbers. Also, we looked at eyeball test. We looked at some common opponents. And at the end of the day, though it's a close call, our determination is Notre Dame is the better team. Whatever, right? That's an acceptable answer. Hunter Yurachek being like, we couldn't compare them until we ranked them side by side. Then you're allowed to compare a head-to-head.
What's the point?
Babbling about?
What's the point of y'all? Also, eyeball test, and fans will do this a lot. A lot of people dislike math for whatever reason. Yeah. They just hate it. And so therefore analytics they don't even want to go into that world because they just don't enjoy numbers for whatever reason. I get it. But then they turn, instead of just saying, I don't like math or I don't want to learn these analytics, they'll just say they don't matter.
They'll be like, watch the games, dork.
And they'll go 100% eyeball test. Like we don't have the all 22 and we don't watch games more than somebody would normally watch them. I don't trust the brain behind those eyeballs a lot. So it's like you can do eyeball tests. I can get 10 coaches in the room. They'll see different things. So when the committee says they want to do eyeball tests, I have to know your intelligence and true understanding of football. And even in coaches, not all of them understand at a great level. And some of them, like they said, well, Alabama was able to run, but they didn't mention that when they went -3 versus Georgia. Some coaches like when you can run. Some coaches are going to evaluate you on your spread game. Some are going to be defensive lockdown. So you have all these different – football's not one philosophy. Yeah. So that's why I also hate the eyeball test and the cop-out of fans that don't like analytics that make it all about eyeball.
Also, you can think you can mentally control for playing a really, really bad team, but you can't. There's a different feeling when you watch your team put 56 on someone and you're playing just absolute garbage. Yeah. And then you go play a really hard team where like the most basic stuff is hard. And you just can't make that adjustment. So what Notre Dame fans are doing right now is like, who looks better than us right now?
Right, because
you're playing Boston College and Syracuse, guy. Like you're playing the dregs of the worst conference in football. Like these are non-competitive football teams. So of course you look amazing. But you got to understand Vanderbilt would beat Syracuse 70-3 too.
Yep.
Like I can promise you that. So it's just we are not good at making those adjustments, even though we're like, hey, guys, understand Sam Houston State is bad. However, look how fast Wisner looks here, or whatever, right? Yep. And you just you don't understand that like that play's not available against Georgia. It's not going to happen. Yep. So it's a struggle, and that's why there's value in both. I don't put all of it on analytics either. I think there is an eye test. Like I think it was correct when the committee left out Florida State because they didn't have a competitive quarterback.
Yep. I need to know the eyes. There's a lot of eye tests that I really trust.
Whose eyes?
Whose eyes? That's the question. And so it's like, of course, and it's like you need both. These things are hand in hand. And it's also really funny because what is nice about analytics as a supplement to the game is you actually do learn a lot. Yeah. And you learn a lot in reference to other teams. If I were to ask most fans, how did you think Trey Wisner ranked amongst FBS at these things? They would all tell me above average.
Yeah.
Because he provides good feelings, and he beats rivals. Well, it's not true. We're underperforming across the board at that position in the FBS. That's what sobers you up and wakes you up. Because everyone knows their team. There's no way you can take in 136 teams and go, that back has this YPC. It's impossible. So that's why you need the numbers. That's why it cracks me up. The committee's watching like 7 screens. And it's like, that's impossible. You cannot understand that.
Well, here's the other thing. I write breakdowns of Texas games. I've done this for years. If you took a photo of me during a Texas game, I'm sitting up. I have a notebook.
Yep.
I have a pen. And I've got my computer next to me for replays and checking in on the box score. Yeah. And I'm writing notes. And I'm like, Cole Hudson whiffed on block, created pressure. what the average person sees is Arch panicked there.
Yeah.
And it's like Arch did not panic there. A guy ran untouched and hit him in the face.
Yeah.
Like,
but that's the level of study. Now imagine doing that for 7 games at once. It's
but
impossible.
every time they cut to those committee members, there ain't a notepad in sight, brother.
And you just can't take it.
And their body language and demeanor is like they're at a movie, like they're at Predator Badlands watching, a movie. Like they're not active learners or active participants in that process. And you can tell.
Yeah. All right,
we're done.
All right.
I feel better.
We solved it again.
I feel better, don't you, Connor?
Yeah, good point. Predator Badlands was a good movie.
My son, I didn't see it, but my son came back, and my son likes to see movies and then come back and recount the plot to me.
Yeah.
And it sounds like quite a sophisticated plot.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a porcupine creature.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's one of those
very dangerous but cute.
Yeah. I watch nothing in the middle. I watch like pretentious high art films and then like Predator Badlands. Like there's no middle class for me. It's got to be fun, or I've got to like be like, do we even exist?
Well, a lot of
films,
like a lot of elite chefs will confess, like I either eat like really good food at my restaurant, or I go and hit Taco Bell.
That's what my friend.
They don't go to Chili's.
Yeah, exactly. There's no middle class. It's either just like really heavy stuff or like that was a lot of fun.
Yep.
All right, guys. I want to see you over on Inside Texas. We can continue this conversation all off season. I bet. Join for $1. Would love to see you over there.
Yeah, join Inside Texas, dude. Our off seasons are just as fun because actually, in a way, we're unshackled from the games.
Yeah,
and we can talk about whatever we feel like.
Yeah,
and it's actually really fun.
People get far more sensitive in the season when you have to like be careful about talking about this player they like. In the off season, you can be like, "This is what's up."
Yeah,
and these are my expectations. So yeah, I agree. Especially it should be hopefully a fun off season too.
Use Gabe, join Inside Texas, and please like and subscribe to this channel. We appreciate y'all.
And this was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Later, y'all.